All right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And today I want to talk about the Splitgate 2 skill gap because, quite frankly, it's been something that has been quite a bit of a concern within the community or within the content creation community or whatnot in terms of the longevity of this game. And to kind of paraphrase what some people have been saying is that, you know, the skill gap in this game is just way too wide, and it won't be too long, or it won't last very long, because there's not going to be any place for the casuals, because it's just going to be way too much for them to handle. And I want to chime in on this, and I want to put my own little perspective on this. Now, I'm not saying what these people are saying are completely wrong or they're completely illogical. I just want to give you a little bit of a different point of view, because in my humble opinion, I think that conversation so far has been a little bit too one-sided. So therefore, I want to kind of even things out and balance things out a little bit and kind of shed a different point of view onto the subject. So I want to talk about for a brief moment about Mario Kart, right? Mario Kart is one of the most popular franchises in gaming history. And to this day, it still continues to do very well. The Switch 2 has recently been the fastest selling console within a certain period of time of all time. And one of the reasons I believe that Nintendo is still able to do what it does with the kind of success that it does is because a lot of their, if not all of their first party games, you can just pick them up and start having fun right away. It's not like a game that you have to get into for 30 minutes or an hour before things start picking up in terms of momentum, and then you're in. It's like, you know, within just a few minutes, if not faster than that, you're in there, you're having fun. You don't have to have an insane skill or whatever and stuff like that. Okay, great. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. People can just get into a game, start having fun, play their 1 or 2 hours or even longer if they want to, and then that's it. They get off and that's that. They don't have to, you know, they can still relax their brain or whatnot. It's, you know, things like that. Okay, great. Now, with that being said, even when you look at a simple game like a Mario Kart, within a certain period of time, don't you think that you're going to know the map better than you did the first time? Don't you think that you're going to learn a few more tricks? Don't you think you're going to get a little bit smoother with the controls? Don't you think you're going to naturally improve at the game? Or who knows, maybe even in a positive way, of course, just be more competitive. But just because you're getting more competitive, because you're getting better at the game and you want to make first place a lot more, it doesn't mean that it has to ruin your experience if you get second place. I mean, sure, you could be like, oh, darn, I didn't get first place, darn it. But does that mean that you're going to put the game away and not play it again? Absolutely not. And why is that? Because the game is fun to play. The number one reason why anybody, this is something that, thank God, has remained true across the board, whether you are statistically the worst player of any video game or statistically the best player of any video game. One of the facts, if not the fact, that has continued to remain true across time, at least for the most part, fingers crossed, is that the number one reason why you play your video games is because it is fun to play. It gives you that dopamine. It gives you that sense of escape and all that kind of stuff. Like, ultimately, the fun factor is what keeps you coming back. And where does that fun factor come from? It could be the way the game feels. It could be the way the game looks, the way the way it sounds. You know, like, let's say with Mario Kart, when you pass that one person when you're playing multiplayer, or when you're passing, you know, the games, you know, you're playing against, let's say, the AI, you know, and you're passing them, right? It's on the hardest difficulty level, and you manage to pass them and get into first place. Or, you know, just the excitement of going through the motions and seeing if you can beat them, right? That's the thrill of the experience. And Splitgate 2, ladies and gentlemen, is literally no different than that. We're only focusing and talking about the top 1 to 10% of the players who are these super uber competitive people that are going to be using everything that this game has to offer to its fullest potential. Most of the gamers that play this game are not going to have that level of interest and that level of passion for it. But one thing, though, that can get them to come back regardless is the fun factor of the game. And is that 10%? Are those 10% of people, especially when rank comes out, are those 10% of people going to ruin the game for the rest of everybody else? Absolutely not. In this game, I've put over 80 hours into it. I haven't checked my time, but I'm probably over 80 hours. I'm probably at 85. And during that time, I have run into absolute sweats. I've run into absolute people who, you know, it definitely was apparent that they weren't as experienced. And for the majority of the part, I was somewhere in between. Okay. Now, every single time, even if I lost a game, even if I lost a gunfight, even if, it never ruined my experience to the point where I would stop playing the game and I would get so frustrated. And why is that? Because the game is fun to play. It feels good to move around. It feels good to try some different things with and without the portals. It feels good to slide down a ramp or whatnot with the slide in this game, which you could, move ridiculously fast in. And at the same time, you're also trying to hit a target if it's in front of you. And the engagement in that aspect is awesome. Being in the air and picking somebody off with any given weapon that may be in the hand, or let's say you're on the ground and you're picking somebody else off of the air. There are so many things that could possibly go on in this game that no matter what your play style is, as well as your own individual skill level, the fun factor is always there for you to grasp. And let's say you die, right? It's like, okay, well, before you know it, you're right back into the action again. And chances are somebody is going to be at low health and you're going to be able to pick them off. The game also makes itself very accessible by the way it gives you the cues in terms of where the action is, where it's happening, how it's happening, and as well as the things that you can do by your choice in order to play a certain way that ever you want. If you want to play boots on the ground, you can still succeed in this game. Now, I know that the portals are something that is a very big subject of controversy in this game because of how advanced they could be. Absolutely. However, one thing I do want to tell you is that you don't have to apply the most advanced techniques. As a matter of fact, 90% of the people are not even going to ever apply the most advanced techniques that the game has to offer as far as the portals are concerned. But you don't have to apply them in order to have fun or to be successful or even succeed in a match and get a hand up on the competition, because of the fact that all you have to do is know the very basics. No different than Mario Kart. You have to know the basics. Okay, it's like, okay, what does this power up do? What does that power up do? Should I need to line up my target before I try to, get this mushroom over there to trip my opponent. If I have a blue mushroom, I don't even have to do that. I could just, aim in their general direction. The blue mushroom is gonna, hone in on them and wham bam, and I'll get first place or something like that. But it's literally in a way, if you think about it, Splitgate 2 is actually no different. But the cool thing is that the game actually gives the player, the option in order to tackle things however you want. If you want to be more passive and pick people off of the sky because they're using their jetpacks way too much and the map is a little bit more open compared to those closed ones, guess what? You can do that in this game. If you want to ambush people by being, tricky or not being tricky with the portals, you can do that. If you see other people's portals and you have a basic understanding of how they work, guess what? You can ruin their party in so many different and yet funny ways. If you see a red portal, you can either walk right through it or you can throw a grenade right through it, and guess what? You can kill somebody right through it if their back is turned to it, or you can shoot somebody through it. You can disrupt their portal just by, you see somebody shooting portals everywhere. Guess what? You can shoot their portals off, and then it gives your team the advantage to walk through those portals and provide something for them. There's, whether you want to take things on a lower level or on a higher level, the option is there for you to do so. But one of the things that has been intimidating so many people out there is that the gameplay that they've seen by some of these pro players, literally the top 1% of the community, it's like they're looking at this and they're like, oh my God, this is just how this is too confusing. I have no idea what's going on. Guys, that is at best, right? It is the top 10%. And chances are you are not going to have that experience all the time, especially when rank comes out. Definitely not. Even now in its current state, you're not going to be facing opponents like that all the time. Now, obviously, the one thing that is a pain in the ass is that if you're a solo player and if you're running into a stacked team that has a basic idea of what they're doing, it's not going to be the most pleasant experience. However, there is still fun for you to have there, especially if your team that's on your side doesn't quit out, because what you can do is you can, again, apply some of the very basic fundamentals, whether it's disrupting portals or waiting for them to do something that is a little bit too, how do I put this? A little bit too, too forward or too aggressive, and you can take advantage of that. There's power up weapons everywhere. You can take advantage of the movement. You can, the maps are versatile enough to where you can literally be in a place to where they won't see you right away, or they won't know that you're there. And at the same time, the game does a great job of giving you good sound cues and visual cues to know where people are at to what's going on. And you're going to find somebody that's going to be on low health, and you're going to be able to finish them off. So again, when you think about it from everywhere across the board, from the very beginner to the very advanced player, there's something literally here from everybody, from a game to game, as you go from a game to game perspective, as well as an engagement to engagement perspective, right? On a game to game basis, and from one matchup to another matchup, from gunfight to gunfight, literally anything and everything can happen. And that's one of the things that's exciting about it. Again, no different than a Mario Kart, for instance, right? Again, this game has its own power-ups, it's got its own weapons, it's got its own way of movement and stuff like that. The maps are like the tracks for Mario Kart or whatnot, and eventually you're going to get to know everything, and you're going to get used to it. And as that happens, you're going to improve, and it's going to show, and you're going to feel it, and you're going to start being a little bit more experimental, and you're going to be having more fun, and you're going to be getting more dopamine, etc., etc. And it actually is a game, believe it or not, that you can actually pick up and play, especially if you've played a first-person shooter before, and especially if that first-person shooter is a game that's come out within the last 10 years or so, give or take, okay? Because again, as I mentioned previously in videos before, this game literally offers a little bit of everything when it comes to first-person shooters, but again, that is no means a reason to be intimidated. Believe it or not, it is meant to have an entry level, just like pretty much any other game out there. But when you start getting to the competitive side of things, and if that's the direction you want to go, there's a whole other in-depth layer that you are going to discover. But when it comes to pubs, it's not going to be anywhere near close to that all the time, like it will be when you get to ranked, or should I say deep ranked? Because like when I played Halo Infinite, it wasn't until you got to like deep diamond or early onyx to where you would really feel the huge difference in skill from a player to player engagement, game to game perspective. So even when it comes to ranked, you have to go in pretty deep there to really notice a really big difference, right? So again, even people who play ranked, they're just above average players, and they want to see how well they can do when it comes to competitive play. They just want to get a little taste of it, and that's pretty much it. Think of it as being in a basketball league instead of just playing out there, in a random pickup game by the courts by your neighborhood or something like that. You want to take things up to the next level, you enter a league. But the top 1%, the guys that you have probably seen videos of that make it intimidating for you to even touch this game, those guys are basically like NBA level players, if you want to make that kind of comparison. So again, going from just a random league, to NBA standards, that is a huge gap. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of people are, that's why I'm saying it's so one-sided, because people are seeing what they're seeing in some YouTube videos by like the top 1% player, for instance, who represents the game or who's shown off by like the devs or in footage or something like that. And they immediately get intimidated because they're like, whoa, this is way too much. This is, again, that's the top 1%. That is not the majority of what happens. So don't let it intimidate you. The fun factor in this game is there. And on top of that, you've got your battle royale mode. You've got additional things that are going to be coming out. You've got a good dev team that actually knows what they're doing and that listens to the community. It's all there. And when rank comes out in the next 2 to 4 weeks, all those uber competitive players, you're going to be seeing even less of them because they're going to be focused on ranked, and things will kind of balance themselves out as far as pubs are concerned. But even in its current state now, there's plenty of fun to be had, there's plenty of experience to be had, there's plenty to learn, and a lot of dopamine to obtain. So whether it's battle royale, whether it's custom game modes, whether it's in pubs multiplayer from the different game modes that you have to choose from there, or whether it's in the map editor to where you can get creative and create your own maps, or even look at the custom game browser to pick up random games there. There's something here for everybody. And especially if you compare it to the origins of when multiplayer shooters came to fruition back in 2004, when Xbox Live went live and when Halo 2 came out. Again, a lot of that DNA is here, not just because there's a little bit of Halo DNA in this game, but there's a lot of video game DNA in here in a good combination. But the thing is, ultimately, at the end of the day, back then, people weren't intimidated about a game and how competitive it was. People just enjoyed the process. They enjoyed going through the motions. They enjoyed going from engagement to engagement. Did they want to win more gunfights? Of course. Did they get more satisfaction from winning gunfights? Of course. But at the same time, whenever they didn't play well, they didn't care. It's not like it ruined their day. It's not like they never touched the game again. It's like, no, we're gonna come back and play again because the game is fun to play, and that's exactly what Splitgate offers. So with that being said, guys, again, I just wanted to offer you a different type of perspective and a different point of view in terms of the whole skill gap conversation and it possibly killing this game. Now, obviously, we know there are no guarantees in anything, right? We know there are no guarantees. However, the potential for this game to go far beyond its prequel or its predecessor, so to speak, is definitely there, and there's plenty of support from both content creators, non-content creators, and stuff like that really have a passion for this game, people that are good in this game, people that are not so good in this game. I get people of all sorts of skill levels in my live stream that talk to me every single time that I stream, which shout out to you guys, by the way, you know, that just have a different they say to me, they always come back because the game is fun. And that at the same time kind of encourages them to get better, and they're not intimidated by it. They just enjoy the process. And that is exactly what gaming is. And again, the most important part of any game out there, and the biggest reason why anybody would want to come back to a game, is because it is fun. And if the game is fun, regardless of how you're playing, then that's how you have a winner. And I think that's what Splitgate offers at its very core. But just because of the fact that the game also has a big skill gap at the highest of levels, that kind of eclipses and overshadows the true potential that this game has from a casual standpoint. And I just wanted to kind of shed some light into that. So with that being said, guys, let me know in the comment section what you think of today's discussion. And I'm really eager to read what you guys have to say down below. And with that being said, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. I know this was a longer one, but I hope you listened to at least most of it, if not all of it. And thank you again. I'll catch you guys on the next one.